Okay, now we are live. So, what happened to but? There he is.
ಒಂದು ನಿಮಿಷ. ಈಗ ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸ್ಫರ್ ಮಾಡಿದೆ ನಾನು. ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಇದಲ್ಲಿತ್ತಲ್ಲ, ಅದಲ್ಲಿ ಅಷ್ಟು ಕೇಳಲ್ಲ, ಅದಕ್ಕೇನು ನನ್ನ ಲ್ಯಾಪ್ಟಾಪ್ಗೆ ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸ್ಫರ್ ಮಾಡಿದೆ ಡಿವೈಸ್ ಇಂದ.
Okay. No worries.
ಈಗ ಓಕೆ ಅಲ್ವಾ?
Yes, it is perfectly fine.
Okay.
So we are supposed to start on 321. So it talks about pramada brahma nishtayam na kartavyah kadachana pramadah mrityuh iti aha bhagavan brahmanah sutah. Okay, pramada is negligence. That is the one, pramadah brahma nishtayam. That is the one which will remove the steadfastness into understanding what is Brahman. And hence na kartavyah kadachana. So one should not forget to associate with Brahman. What it really means is that anything in the world can wait, but being with Brahman should be the topmost priority. So during the day and also in the night, if we were to take it, what we are supposed to do by now is to live like what is in the deep sleep state when we are in the awakened state. Meaning to say, as there are no relationships during the deep sleep state, so also there are no relationships at all in the waking state. The negligence here is that I will make the world appear while waking and the world disappears while I am asleep. And that is the negligence. And hence, this negligence itself is death. Pramadah mrityuh iti aha. Who says this? It's said by Bhagavan Brahmanah Sutah. Sanat Kumara, the Brahma's son, says that pramada, that is negligence or inadvertence, is the death. Now what it really translates, one thing what we keep on doing is, like we completed this session on 29th and we are meeting on 9th of November. So during the period of 30th of October to 8th of November, we could not meet. In the meanwhile, the world has got created. If we are not watchful, meaning after this session, if we are not in the deep sleep state and we are in the awakened state of the world or awakened state of the world, that means we are already in pramada. So let's say, for conventional sake, we are talking and we are saying I was here, I was there, and all that is fine. But mentally, if I were to make that happen, or what I can say mentally is that I am now remembering the days I spent as holidays. So starting from the 30th of October, 31st, and like that. And if I were to relish that, every moment and say how good it was and all that. That means the world has got created. So I have created the past, which is already gone. And in the present moment, that is right now, I am residing in the past and planning something similar in the future, which is equivalent to death. The reason being, if the past and the present and future were to exist, relationships will come into existence. That means I'm going to create a relationship of past, present, and future. The moment I create this association of past, present, and future, it gives me a continuity. That means that on 30th I did this, and 31st I did that, and till 8th of November. So we had good enjoyment and fun and this, that, due to festival holidays. And that gets into the system. So what has happened here is that even though I have realized that Brahman is the only thing, the Jagat also has got created without my knowledge. So very soon, the Jagat is going to be the only thing which exists. And the Brahman goes to the side. This is what the Pramada is going to do. So that's the reason he says here, Pramadaha Brahma Nishtayam. Na kartavyaha kadachana. So Brahmanista, other than Brahman, nothing else should be given any preference, any value, or anything as a priority. Do the work because we are born, and hence we need to do the work. We need to eat, we need to sleep, we need to do all of that, but do that in Brahman, not other way around. So that's the meaning of this 321st verse. Now we go to 322nd. What's the effect of that? Na pramada dhanayonyo jnanina na pramadat anartaha anyaha jnaninah swarupatah tataha mohaha tataha aham dihi tataha bandhaha tataha vyatha. So the greatest danger is the negligence. So there is no greater danger than the negligence. Even the wise person will get into this delusion, or he will move away from being in Brahman. And the moment it happens, tataha mohaha, from this comes the delusion. Tataha aham dihi, then comes the egoism. Tataha bandhaha, so this is the starting of the bondage. Tataha vyataha, start of the misery. Now what it really means, sometimes I feel that I am in that, or it's, if I compare my life, I will say that I am exactly doing whatever is there. Still it is the mind which is, or the intellect which is what the jiva is all about. So still that exists. So how should one see Brahman is the question. Let's say, we have covered this earlier, but it will be good to know whether we are negligent or we are not negligent. So the easy way to do is just stand in front of the mirror and watch who is the person who is watching. So I had sent that a video of the dog. So the difference between the dog and us is that the dog is not able to recognize itself, and it is barking, and it is growling, it is doing many other things. Whereas in the case of human, when that person stands in front of the mirror, he or she beautifies, he or she looks at the body, adores it. This is one. And second one is that the person identifies as himself in that mirror. So as soon as a reflection is there, the person were to just attach himself to that. So he creates an illusion of I in that mirror. So it is my body, and I am within this body, and this body is mine, will automatically happen. So this is the exercise what we need to do. That we stand in front of the mirror. What is the impression we are getting? If I am getting my reflection, meaning to say, I start to take this reflection as mine, in that case, it clearly shows that I am already out of the Brahman. So the first thing it comes when I stand in front of the mirror is, this is me. This is Vilas. And this is Vilas' body. Whereas I am within this body. Okay, these are three things which are going to come. The I am is that Atma in the sense of Ahankara. And I will always feel that I exist. And when that exists, this body is mine. So any changes in the body, say for example, there is a pimple which has come on my face or something, or I have got a still more white hairs more than what it was earlier, or wrinkle on the face, or looking older, or the mustache has grown white, or whatever it is, the moment, or the fat or the belly fat has increased, or anything that which is happening in that body, immediately points out to this is my body. So I have maintained it not well, I should maintain it, or I maintained it very well and hence I look smarter, and that is me. So these three things are going to happen, which is the negligence. At that point onwards, from that point onwards, delusion, ego, bondage and misery are completely experienced. So what should happen then? When I stand in front of the mirror, I should see it like a skeleton rather than a person standing there at the max. Number two is that I'm able to see that every being, every person, let's say we'll restrict only to humans right now. Every human has a head, he has eyes and ears and nose and all of that, other parts of the body. So there is nothing special in me or in the other person. So this consciousness is there in him as well as in me, and hence they both are same. This one thing should get into an experiential reality. So what I mean to say is experiential reality is, the moment I stand in front of the mirror, I don't see myself at all. I only see it as a conscious expression. So if the eyes are going up, or if I'm spreading my arm, or if I'm winking, or if I am wearing a dress or whatever it is, it's not me who is doing that, it is the consciousness which is doing all of this. If at all I'm able to get into that awareness while standing in front of the mirror, that can be extended to the other time as well. That is while walking, while sitting, while standing, while bending, while turning around and all that. So we can bring that aspect. Then in that case, what happens is that there is no I existing anymore, because the other person is also I, then that other person is also I, and then other person is also I, whether the person is tall or short or fat or lean or dark or fair color skin, doesn't matter. So now with this example what I gave, Shankaracharya gives around totally 4 similes. So I don't have to give further examples on that. So from 323rd to 328 he gives the similes, and 329 he ends it saying that this is what you need to do. So what we are supposed to be doing is that we need to implement these 4 of the similes in our life every moment. So we'll start with the first simile, the doting, which is Vishaya Abhimukham Drishtva Vidvamsam Api Vismritah Vikshepayati Dhidhoshaihi Yosha Jaram Iva Priyam. Vishaya Abhimukam Drishtva, hankering over the sense objects, one find Vidvamsam api vismritaha. Vismritaha means gets completely bewildered. Who? Even a wise man who has seen the Brahman, who has experienced the Brahman, also will get bewildered. Vikshepayati dhidhoshaihi, tormented ever by evil propensity of the intellect. See, the one beauty thing about intellect is that once it knows what it is, it mimics it. So it's very hard to see whether one is experiencing Brahman or one is experiencing his or her own intellect. It's very hard to distinguish. And that is the problem. Meaning, sometimes it looks like I know it completely, or I might even say I have experienced it like this. In fact, my whole life has been like that, and all that might be there. But it is the intellect which is talking, not through consciousness. That experience is totally different, but it camouflages. So it's very difficult or very complex and difficult to say whether one has really experienced or one has experienced only through his intellect, because intellect is very sharp. So mind and intellect both works in the same way. Intellect knows the subject and the mind feels the object. So the subject and object, when comes together, it creates such an impression that it is impossible to make an assessment whether the person is talking from his or her intellect or the person is talking from his or her own experience. They absolutely look the same. It's very difficult. So Here in the simile 1, he talks about that. Vikshepayati dhidoshai yosha jaramiva priyam. So, as a woman tormenting her husband, in the same way, this intellect torments the mind. That torments the consciousness. And the wise man forgets all about it because he is submerged in this experience. So what does intellect do? It copies everything. It copies itself. Meaning, let's say, standing in front of the mirror, you're able to do that. Next time when you do it, it is the intellect which is doing it, and it tries hard to get the same experience as it would have got through consciousness. So it's very difficult. So the pramada, which is negligence, and if somebody is lacking in the discipline. Now, what is the discipline we need to have at this point in time? We need to have the 9 things what Shankaracharya started to have got completely established. Out of that, 2 things should have completely been experienced. One is the Shama and one is the Dhamma. Without that, Viveka and Vairagya will not come. Because the discrimination here between Anitya and Nitya, Brahman is Nitya, whereas the intellect is Anitya. But however, since the intellect has the capacity to copy whatever the consciousness is doing, it is almost impossible to achieve without establishing the 9 things what Shankaracharya talks about. The sadhana chatushtaya, 4 things that has to be completely be done by now. Meaning, we should have started with Viveka, then or Vairagya, Viveka, then Shama, Dhamma, Uparati, Titiksha, Samadhana. All of that should have got established by now. So in our daily work, in our daily dealing with people, whether it's a family members or otherwise, we should have done that. If by chance, by now we have not done it in any given way, then this is not going to work. This chapter especially is not going to work out. The reason being that by now we have realized and we are working towards liberation. So this chapter is on liberation, not on realization. So the realization happened when we looked at the Annamaya Kosha, then we looked at the Pranamaya Kosha, Manomaya Kosha, and then the Vijnanamaya Kosha and Anandamaya Kosha. So when we did these 5 koshas, at that time itself we had realization, the self-realization that there is no self. It is beyond this self. So what we found out in realization is there is no thing called Atma. What exists is the ego in the name of Atma. If at all there is an Atma, it is there in everyone. It is the same one. It is not different. It is not that me as an Atma being there. So that's what we realized. Now what we are doing now is to get liberated from that feeling of Atma as well. And then the person is liberated. So there are 2 steps. For the first one, realization, the expectation is that we have established the sadhana chatushtaya. If by chance we have not yet established it, it becomes very difficult in the second simile what he is talking about, which is what I feel we are at present, unless we do something about it. Yataha yatha pakristam shaivalam kshana matram na tishtati avrinoti tataha maya prajñam va api parangmukham yatha apakristam shaivalam. So shaivalam is the moss. If the moss were to be removed in one place, ksanamatram na tishtati, does not stay apart from a moment, but again avrinoti tataha maya, covers up the still water. So also the maya covers over the prajna, the wisdom. If that person is extrovert, meaning instead of looking at inner purity, if he is interested in external purity, meaning to say that he wants to change the society, the mannerism and this and that, and culture, work culture, home culture and all of that, the maya will immediately cover it up, just like the moss were to cover the fresh water. The water by such will not have any effect, but nobody can see the water because even a little bit is removed, it doesn't matter because everywhere it is there. So it just covers it up. It's just a matter of time that when it is there. So in a reservoir where the water stands still for few days and there's a build-up of the moss on the surface, so the same way, when we stop practicing the 9 things what Shankara says, even for a moment, it covers it up. Yes, but
this maya again covers it up. That's what this shloka says.
correct.
But actually, it is our ignorance, right? Our ignorance is creating all this problem.
Ignorance is nothing but maya. Avidya itself is maya.
Okay.
So there is no other maya than the avidya.
So I was thinking avidya is ignorance within my mind. Maya is because of the prakriti.
No, the maya.
Mind is also prakriti, I know.
Yeah, the mind is also prakriti only. And the avidya is also prakriti only. Not knowing the reality itself is what prakriti is all about. If you were to go by Sankhya, not understanding the Purusha but always in prakriti is what Maya is all about. And in the case of Vedanta, whether it is Purva Mimamsa or Uttara Mimamsa, either of one of them, it is not knowing the reality is what Maya is all about, which is avidya or ignorance.
See, the complete, if our mind is part of Maya, and that is ignorance, and again we are attracted to this Prakriti. Prakriti is also ignorance, or Prakriti is in this case?
No, Prakriti remains, but not knowing
It remains, okay.
it, not knowing the true nature of Prakriti is what causes the problem.
In Mula Swarupa, if you understand Prakriti, then no issues.
Yes, so I'll give you an example. Now I stand in front of the mirror. What am I seeing? Is it Vilas I am seeing, or is it a body I am seeing?
Actually, I think in this example now, after going through this, when you stand in front of a mirror, what you see there is not the reality at all. But you just see a mirror in front of you. If you see that you are seeing the pratibimba, then your problem starts there.
Correct. So what the first thing, what do I feel if I stand in front of the mirror?
I feel it is me inside.
Correct. So first thing that really comes up is this is me. Correct. Then comes this is my body. And then comes I am within this body. Isn't it or not?
Yeah.
And that is what Maya is all about. It doesn't give you an impression that you are not this body. It gives you an impression that you are this body and you are within this body.
So our mind is also Maya.
Yes.
The pratibimba is also Maya.
Correct.
And one Maya think that the other one Maya is reality. So that is false.
No, this Maya, whoever stands in front of the mirror shows that reflection. So, if my wife were to stand in front of the mirror doesn't recognize that this is my wife who is standing. It just throws a reflection. The mirror is Brahman. However, the person standing in front of that mirror feels that he is standing in front of the mirror or she is standing in front of the mirror. If you just remove that mirror, and if in this home, right, present, there are two beings, not as husband and wife, there are two beings. So immediately the expression would be that she is my wife and I am her husband. Now this is what the Vikshepa Shakti is all about. So it immediately makes that husband and wife happen when there is no husband and wife. So the practice we need to do is to stand in front of the mirror and see whether immediately I get this is me, this is my body, and I am within this body. If yes, then I have to go back to sadhana chatushtaya.
Or otherwise, I know that my mind is Maya.
Right.
And I should use that mind as an instrument. That's it, for the purpose of identifying. See, if I have to do surgery, then through microscope or something, I have to see that. Only for the purpose of surgery, I can see, but I should not do anything beyond that.
That is correct. That is again an intellect which is part of the Maya only.
But that has to be done, na? For survival, that has to be done for us. But for all practical purpose, when you are dealing with this world of Maya, that means the people around us, I am also dealing with my mind only. So my mind is Maya, others' mind is Maya, and Maya to Maya dealing is happening now.
That is correct, but the
So,
thing...
what I am telling is, don't do any dealing there, but use it only for the purpose of your minimum survival.
No, there is no concept of minimum or maximum and all. That is again part of the intellect. See the numbering. Minimum.
See, I have to survive because I have prana with me. I have body.
Correct. Absolutely.
I have to survive till the last, as per prarabdha, till the last moment.
Absolutely.
And for that, my mind only has to do all that.
That is
My
correct.
prana will not. My that inner Brahman inside will not do anything. Only I have to do. So to that extent, if we should act. If you don't act to that extent, then it is problem, right?
No, that is correct. But the thing is, what we need to understand is any definitions or any measurement what we bring in, like what we said for the minimum or whatever we are bringing in, is again part of intellect. So it doesn't matter what you do or what I do or what anybody does. In fact, there is nobody else other than you here.
Yes.
All are only pratibimba only, right? It doesn't matter. So just like the four of us here in this discussion, we four are the same. We four are exactly the same. There is nothing like you are different, I am different, or Padma Shri is different, or Lata is different.
Same energy, yes.
Same one. There is no difference. The intellect says that we four are different.
Correct.
But the reality is we four are no different. We are the same. If I consider the three of you as a reflection of me, then the me goes away. You got the point? Otherwise, I am saying this is Bhatt and this is Padma Shri and this is Lata. And comes the views. This is Bhatt's view, this is Padma Shri view, and this is Lata's view. What if all the four were to be the same, except for mind and intellect? Then there is no problem at all. Then the minimum and maximum, the any measurement criteria wouldn't be there. Only in the mind, through intellect, this measurement exists. That is what the Vikshepa Shakti is all about. It immediately makes the I experience possible. If you remove the metrics, if you remove the measurement, if you remove the value, then there is nothing at all being there. It's only you, or in this case, it is me as the three of you. There's no other person sitting there or hearing or doing anything at all. I'm speaking to myself. And that's a real thing. See, all these videos, what I have done so far, I have spoken to myself. And whoever is a listener is listening to himself or herself. So if I am talking about YouTube, if we four, we have discussed in length, we are our own self as one single self. That's all. So then there is no problem at all. If it is division or if it is divided, then comes all of these questions. Should one earn for limited or should one earn for maximum? Or should you do this or should you do that? Should one leave everything and go, or should one be satisfied with whatever one has? So all these questions arise because the intellect starts. So he says here, this intellect itself is very evil. Don't go by that. In the previous verse, 323rd, Vikshepayati dhidoshaihi. Dhi means intellect. This intellect is Vikshepa. It has the ability to move from one to another. And it torments the consciousness. Okay, just like he gives a very real good example. The wise man who is married to the knowledge suddenly finds himself having an adulterous relationship with the sense objects. He knows that is not true, meaning the sight, the sound, the taste, touch, smell are not true. They are Vikshepa. He knows that, and yet he falls prey to that. So the woman here is a simile to show that how attraction makes the even of the best Vidwan fall in pieces. Because it's just like standing in front of the mirror and suddenly the person forgets all about Vedanta and starts to see what is happening with his gray hair or patch on the skin or this or that or wrinkles and all that. He knows Vedanta, but yet he falls prey to that. That's a vikshepa. So if we bring in intellect, what it does is that it starts to compare and contrast and put measurements. How far have I grown when compared to another person? So it creates a person in the mind, and the mind feels that person. But actually there is no person at all except for yourself. There's nobody except for you. And the same you is there in another person, and the same you is there in another person, like that. So at your home, you and your wife, you are only you. Both are you only. There's no other person. And when it comes to my home, it is 1 minute. So the thing what we need to do is, like at my home, there are two people. Actually, it's only one person as a person, if at all we are to take. The two of them are just a pratibimba, but actually what exists is only one. How? If one person were to drop dead right now, only one person is there. That means if the consciousness were to move out of the body, then either the wife or the husband is just a furniture. Nothing else exists in that, because the consciousness has moved away. And that is what Brahman is all about. That consciousness is there everywhere. It's not that it is only there in me or it's only there in my wife. It is there in you and your wife, and same thing with Lata, her family, and same thing with Padma Shri. So what are we seeing is just a mirror reflection of that consciousness. So if I were to be that consciousness, then Vilas, then the problem is solved. If not, it's like a built up on the stagnant water. The second simile what he is giving there. The Maya covers completely. So the best exercise to do is to stand in front of the mirror and watch for oneself whether I get this is me, this is my body, and the third one, a very nice thing which comes up. I am within this body. So when I am there within this body comes, I don't want to die. That I will never die. So this is the practice. And this will not work without the sadhana chatushtaya being there. Meaning, I might have much of the intellect, but whenever I stand in the front of the mirror also, the intellect will say that this is not me, this is not myself and all that. But internally I know that this is myself. So it is the Maya doing all of this. So he starts with the third simile. Lakshya chutam chet yadi chittam ishat bahirmukham san nipatet tataha pramadatah prachuta keli kandukah sopana panktau patitah yatah tatah. Lakshya, what needs to be done? The target. Achyutyam. Lakshya Chutam. Chuti means to cut. Lakshya Chutam Cheti Yadi Chittam Ishat. Chitta. Chitta can be called as mind, but it is beyond the mind. It is the light which is coming there with all kind of impressions. So, Mano, Buddhi, Ahankara, Chitta. In this, he talking about the Chitta. Straying away. Lakshya Chutam Chet Yadi Chittam Ishat. If I were to stray away from that ideal or from that Brahman, if the mind were to do that, even for slightly, Bahirmukham, slightly in terms of making oneself in Bahirmukha, externalization. San nipate tataha tataha, then it tumbles down and down, just like water flowing in on the what we can say steps. So it keeps on dropping down. He gives a example of a ball, like a ball that is accidentally dropped on a flight of stairs. Sopana panktau patitaha yataha tataha, on the flight of stairs and goes bouncing down. As with the ball, so with the chitta. They both have the same fate. That means when I am standing in front of the mirror, if by chance I get to see that this is me, it's like a ball going down. I shouldn't see it as me at all, at any point in time. And when I see my wife coming here, I should not see as her, as a wife, because they both are mirror reflections only. And that is true. As far as a mirror is concerned, if I stand in front of the mirror, it shows that object. As far as this wife coming and standing in front of the mirror, it shows that object. So there was no other person standing there except for whatever object was coming. And I can call that as my wife and I can call this as myself, but they both are the same. So if I am able to stay in that, then there is no danger. But the moment I find that this is my wife and she is standing in front of me, then the problem has started, just like the ball. So now I get this is me, and the second one comes is this is my body, and the third one that comes is this is I am in this body. So I am going down. Down to where? Down back into existence. Now I will have another family in the near future, because there would be rebirth. All the aspect of rebirth is there, and hence I don't want to die. I do not want to die, because this is me, this is my body, and this I am within this body. So if the mind were to accidentally stray down in search of sensual pleasures, so even if a consciousness were to come and say, hey, you're damaging yourself, it wants to taste. The mind, meaning here the intellect, would like the mind and itself to taste through the ego the pleasure of going down and down. So the chitta carries the other three down. So first we have mano, then we have the buddhi, then we have the ahankara and the chitta. The mano feels, the buddhi is the one which provides all kind of extrovertedness in terms of senses and sense objects. That means it identifies the sense objects. Ahankara brings up, I am seeing this, I am hearing, I am tasting, I am touching, and all of that. Then the chitta, that consciousness which is supposed to not involve with the three, gets involved and takes itself down like the bouncing ball. So even though we are realized, by now we have realized there is no self, yet we feel, or we start to feel in the mind, there is a self. And that's a problem. So we have gone down. If at all we see ourselves in the mirror and we get this impression, then we have already gone down. Just like the ball. So when that happens, Vishayeshu avishat chetaha sankalpayati tadgunan samyak sankalpanat kamaha kamat pumsaha pravartanam. So Vishayeshu, the sense objects, avishat chetaha, the chitta carries this other three, that is mano, buddhi, ahankara, near the sense objects. So it becomes a careless thing to do. Sankalpayati tadgunan, a wrong determination happens, meaning the mind will start running towards the sense objects, and tadgunan, the guna, the qualities of what is being seen, what is being tasted, what is being heard, all that will come. Instead of treating sound as a sound, I will treat this is my wife's sound. And the my gets created because it is my wife. And then I hear another sound and I feel this is my son's voice. Then I hear another voice and I feel this is my brother's voice. And I hear another voice, oh, this is my brother-in-law's voice. And then this is my sister-in-law's voice. And then this is my nephew's voice. And this is my niece's voice. And this is that voice. In voice itself. So when four of us meet, and this is Bhatt's voice, and that is Padmashri's voice, this is Lata's voice, and this is my voice. And if I were to have that impression, then my mind is already caught up on that. Samyak sankalpanat kamaha. After thoroughly being in that enjoyment, desire starts to spring up. Kamaha. Kamat pumsaha pravartanam. As a result of this kama, the sensual enjoyment, the man gets into action. That person gets created then and there. Now we are four people here. So there will be krodha, there will be moha, there will be lobha, there will be kama, there will be mada, there will be matsarya in all the four of us. In some degrees here and there different, if at all we want to put that intellect there. Otherwise, we will all be having the Arishad Varga with us. Now, once I have created necessary condition for the 6 damaging things, the Arishad Varga, then what happens? tataha sarupa vibramsho vibrashtau patatyadaha patitasya vinanasham punaraho naruha ikshyate tataha. Then yes,
Vilas, it is 9:30. I need to attend a meeting.
yes.
Maybe we can continue tomorrow.
Yes, no worries. Yeah, we will meet up tomorrow. Thank you.
So Lata, how is your mother?
She's still in the hospital.
Oh, in the hospital. Uh-huh.
So it's the same condition.
Uh-huh.
No change.
So your brother is there, right?
My brother and my sister are there in the hospital. I'm at home with my father.